Hello, Durham. Welcome to another exciting episode of Durham Unplugged, a chance to speak with your local representatives in a much more informal setting. I'm your host, Sterling Lee, and today with me, I have a very special guest. I have the mayor of Uxbridge, Diamond Dave Barton. Dave, are you comfortable with me calling you Diamond Dave?
Yeah, thanks for all the lead time on that. I've never had that nickname before. I'm typically really open.
Yeah,
I
probably
don't
not that
see
one.
myself as a diamond, but hey, whatever makes you happy, Sterling.
It was an old sales trick I was taught. Like I came from Rogers and Microsoft, and it's just like you try to memorize names. And I remember like the first few meetings of regional council, it's like 28 people I probably had not met before. So I'm trying to mnemonically figure things, and for some reason I landed on Diamond Dave with you.
Wow.
So even though I may never call you that in public ever again, just know when I'm looking at you, I'm always thinking Diamond Dave Barton.
Perfect. I'm really glad you let me know.
Yeah.
You could see the reaction and you'd record it. This is perfect.
It could have been worse, though. I mean, to be fair, it could have been worse.
No, it's a very good point. Thank you. Now, tell me, what's the nickname for, say, David Pickles?
I mean, Pickles is pretty. I just think of a giant pickle, to be honest, because he's so tall as well. So it's Pickles. Like Pickles is just like something that was easy to remember. And then Rowdy Rhonda Mulcahy, because Ronda Rousey goes by Rowdy, and so it was just one of those weird mnemonics. I can go through all of them. I probably shouldn't, to be honest, but yes, Diamond Dave Barton is what I settled on for you.
Okay, no, perfect. I'm glad I could entertain. That's
yeah, absolutely. So how have you been?
You know, things are going pretty well up here. We're when you think of places where you have to self-isolate, you know, Uxbridge is a fantastic place to be. We have tons of green space. We're the trail capital of Canada, and the majority of people up here are able to work from home. Our connectivity in town is pretty decent. It's a big concern when we get into our rural areas, but we're doing really well up here. Trying to get our side as much as we can.
So when I was a Rogers rep, I actually took care of, I think you guys only have the one, or you have two Rogers stores. You have one dealer and one corporately owned, and I took care of the dealer store at the time. And yes, I remember like a lot of people had those internet connectivity issues, and so it's got to be frustrating, no? Like, I mean, on regional council, you bring it up quite often of just like we need better connectivity from the province, from anybody at this point. Like it's embarrassing that we haven't like prioritized this.
No, it's true, and what's interesting is some of our greatest successes over the last couple of years have actually been from one guy. So it's a guy who's an entrepreneur who set up a microwave link over the Oak Ridges Moraine, and then he's connected. Zephyr, which is in the far northwest of our municipality, and Stanford and Leaksdale so far, and then a couple little individual subdivisions, all basically climbing the towers themselves. And if there's a link that goes out because of a power outage or something, he's the guy out there climbing the pole to get it going again.
And do you name a library after this guy? I mean, like you have to, right?
Well, you know what? We probably should name our Zephyr library. We've only got two. I don't think we can name our key library, but our Zephyr library, we went from 0.3 megabits per second, and as a Rogers guy, you would know.
Yeah, that is on my phone. That's unacceptable.
Oh my! Well, you can hardly get an email on
right. You know,
it's like one step up from the 28.8 modems.
Right.
And so we went from 0.3 megabits per second at our library to now we've got 25 megabits per second.
That's, man, like I said, that guy's a hero. That guy is a straight up hero. Now, you mentioned you guys are the trail capital of Canada. Do you have to like formally apply for that designation? Like, how does one become, like, is it self-proclaimed? Is there somewhere in Alberta who's like, hey, wait a minute, you know?
So it's actually not. It's official. It happened before my time, but we did the research, and we have the official designation of the trail capital of Canada here in Uxbridge.
And I guess it's like the most trails per like kilometer. Like, how's that determined?
So I think we got it because we asked for it, to be honest. Just to be totally straight up.
Yeah.
But it's actually true as well. So when we're thinking of urban planning in Uxbridge, a lot of it is how to link up the neighborhoods so you can get from one place to the other without going on roads whenever possible. So lots of our, we have some of the kind of paved pathways that you would have at Ajax.
Yeah.
But then we have basically, trails that you take a leaf blower and a rake and you create a trail through a forest. So it's a real mix of those two.
But in theory, what you're telling me is I could lobby to have Ajax known as the trail capital of Canada.
You have to think of something else. So what do you want to be? What do you want to be called in Ajax?
Well, I want to be the pizza capital of Canada. That is my goal, is to call us the pizza capital. Because we actually have surprisingly good pizza at Ajax. It was a shocker. Yeah, we have two places specifically. One's called Pizza Pino's, and the other
Okay.
one's called Auntie's Kitchen. And I think they're both. There's one owner who switched the other, and it's just
Okay.
like that really thick, like a pound of cheese, a pound of everything on like a slice. So it's like 8 slices, and like half a slice will fill me up, right? So it's just one of those decadent pizzas. So yeah, I want
So
to be
it's a
called the pizza
little bit
capital.
more like a Chicago style deep dish.
Oh no, I
You
mean,
know what? You know what? And I believe you could.
yeah, objectively, like no, Chicago pizza is my favorite pizza. I think like if I were to say my favorite city, I think obviously outside of Ajax, Chicago is probably one of my favorite cities all time. It's kind of like Toronto, but um, more transit, more of everything than what Toronto has, and so I really like Chicago.
You know what? I spent a fair bit of time in Chicago as well. In a previous life, I worked in the electronics industry,
Okay.
and I had some big customers in Chicago. So I was there every couple of weeks for about a year.
Well, let's talk about it. You are the mayor. This is your first term as mayor, if I'm not
It is.
mistaken, correct? And obviously, this was not the term you envisioned when you ran. These circumstances are hardly ideal. But
Yeah.
so before mayor, I assume you were a regional councilor or a local
No,
councilor.
I was just a local councilor, and
Okay.
I was in for less than a term.
Okay.
So I was elected in a by-election.
Okay. And
Um,
what made you? So what did you do prior to politics?
so I worked in the electronics industry. So worked for a company that you probably have driven by an awful lot on the 401. Omron was one of the companies I worked for.
Oh, one more
And
time.
Omron.
Okay. Yes.
On
Yes. Yes.
401.
Yeah.
So I was there, and then I moved to Tyco from there, which is another extremely large
Yeah.
electronics company. And I was doing sort of technical sales, a little bit of product management, and covered. I started with just sort of Eastern Canada, and
Hmm.
then by the time I left, it was kind of half of North America. So they had me traveling a lot.
Oh, so you've been all over, huh?
Yeah, a fair bit of traveling.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite city or state that you really enjoy or province?
So here's the negativity of being in the electronics industry, focusing primarily on industrial. Spent a lot of time in places like Rochester and Syracuse.
Nice. That's what I'm talking
Oh,
about. So my sister is from upstate New York, right? And
okay.
so I know that area very well. And of
Yeah.
course, you enjoy dinosaur barbecue, of course.
Oh, again, that when I think of either of those two
Yeah.
cities, that would be, it's like, oh, you get done at 6 instead of 10. And it's like, oh, let's go to the dinosaur and have a couple drinks and
Have to,
barbecue.
have to.
Yeah.
It's my favorite ribs. I mean, outside of like the rib fest that we see, it's my favorite like restaurant ribs is Dinosaur. I just love that place.
Well, and I love the vibe as well. You just
Yeah.
get there, it just feels you're in a whole different world when
Well, I
you
think
walk.
the original one was like a biker bar, which they
Yeah.
then like franchised out, which is a cool kind of story to have.
Well, and isn't the original one? I'm pretty sure the Syracuse location is the original one.
That's what I was under the impression as well. Yes, and then Rochester they had expanded out to like upstate New York.
Right. And then don't they have one in New York City as well?
I think they have to at this point. If not, they're sorely missing out.
Yeah. So that's sort of the world I lived in before. I was working on like electronic switching and contactors and things like that. So lots
The
of
sexy part of tech. The sexy part of
Oh,
tech. Whew, we can go on and on, but we don't want to keep people, just
no. So we could talk about the next stuff. But so anyway, so I did that. Luckily, I got packaged out just when I was kind of ready to go. I was
Okay.
traveling far too much
Right.
with a young child, kind of like you are right now.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity to get out. I bought some real estate and I managed that, and then thought I wanted to give back. So my first time on council, there weren't really anyone speaking for kind of my demographic. Early 40s, active, really interested in the trail system, was interested in sort of making Uxbridge a true destination. And
Right.
there wasn't that voice wasn't on our council at the time. So I ran. I didn't expect to win, but I did. I was up against 8 other people.
Right.
One, loved every minute of it. It was a great experience. And then we had someone who was actually the mayor at the time. He had
Mhm.
taken over for Gary Lynn O'Connor, who moved up to
Yep. To regional chair.
Yep. So anyway, he was running, and he and I, we got along, but we saw things quite differently. And I thought, you know what, I'm either going to step off council, or I'll see if I can step up and be mayor. And again, I didn't expect to win the election. I did, and I'm loving every second of this job.
Yeah.
Certainly challenging times,
Right.
but love working with all the people at the region, and then the local our community is the best. And I'm sure you think that way about Ajax, but you're wrong. Uxbridge is certainly the best community.
It's official, guys. I mean, I thought I was right, but no, Ajax is number 2 in Durham region. But hey, number 2 is not too bad. And now, have you been your whole life in Uxbridge, or?
Yeah, so I was born at the hospital. My parents met at the high school here in town.
Oh, high school sweethearts.
Oh yeah, so like we are an Uxbridge family for sure.
Yeah,
Going back generations.
that's amazing. And you mentioned you have a young daughter, I believe, right?
Yeah, so I have an 11-year-old daughter.
Right.
So, and she goes to the same elementary school that I went to, which is kind of
Oh, nice. Did she look up the old photos of the old man right away? Because that's what I would do.
Oh, see, I don't think she did, but I don't think she wants to be embarrassed around her friends. She saw
Yeah,
a couple photos of me from my high school days, and she laughs a lot.
And how long have you been married for?
Oh, I should probably know this. I think it's about 18 years.
18 years. Wow, my goodness.
Yeah, something like that.
And how did you meet your wife?
So we met. We were skiing. So I used to run a lot. So I was running with a bunch of women, and one of the women I was running with was a ER physician that worked with my wife. And we both went to parties with the same woman, and she saw us both dance and decided that we should probably be together.
Because you're both such fantastic dancers, correct?
I don't know if that was the case or not. I'm not sure if it was a compliment or not, but she tried to set us up, and we went skiing a few times together, and I grew on her eventually. So
good. That's where you're supposed to do it, right?
Exactly.
Now, do you remember what your first date was? I love asking this question.
So the first date was the same friend who set us up. We went out as 3 people for a few times, group dates a bit. And then that person tried snowboarding from skiing and fell backwards and broke her right arm and her left wrist and couldn't come and play with us anymore.
Oh my goodness.
So then my wife and I went skiing, just the 2 of us.
Right.
Which was, so then that would have been the first date when we were alone.
And I guess you guys share an affinity for the outdoors. I see your Instagram all the time. It's always like you biking, walking, etc.
Yeah. So we traveled a lot as just my wife and I before we had kids. We tried to go to every place that we knew could change drastically, in the near future. So we spent a fair bit of time in India, Nepal. We hiked the Inca Trail. We climbed up to Everest Base Camp. We climbed Kilimanjaro, stuff like that.
Oh, you climbed Kilimanjaro?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So again, we've had a blast.
Nice. And outside of the trails, the outdoor life, what is your one favorite thing about your wife?
Oh, but my wife, you know what? She can accomplish anything.
Right. And what does she do now, if I may ask?
Oh, you mean work-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, she's an ER physician.
Oh, that's amazing. So she's literally frontline then as well, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. This COVID is it's a tough time in our house.
Yeah, I imagine. And so she's does she work at do you guys have a hospital in Uxbridge?
Yeah, so we have a local hospital. She does some shifts there, and she works primarily at Markham Stouffville.
Okay, good. And that's not too far, right? You just kind of go across.
Kind of 40 minutes.
Right. Wow. And so who's watching the 11-year-old? I guess, are you primarily on daddy daycare duty like I am?
She works, it's sort of mixed. I'm doing almost all my work from home.
Right.
It's all video calls and everything else and lots of phone calls. And then my wife is typically working late evenings and nights. So together, we're spending lots of time with the family. It's sort of a mixed bag.
Yeah, no, it sounds, I mean, that's intense. So, I mean, please thank your wife for us, because honestly, I can't, like, an ER doctor, again, everything I know, I'm going to just preface this, I know from the show ER, so please don't quote me on any of this. But it's
almost exactly the same.
Yeah, it seems like intense, right? Like it's literally life and death for her. Like a lot of it's triaging, making sure the next patient kind of gets through, then you do it all over again. Like that has to take an emotional toll, no?
You know what? I would let her speak for that part of
it.
But
sure.
Again, she enjoys that part of her job. She enjoys putting people back together, making a true difference. So that's the part of her job she loves.
It is the life my parents wanted for me, but instead they had to settle for a regional politician. So sorry, mom and stepdad, but this is the way it is.
You're doing a great job. I'm enjoying your perspective on regional council. So there's lots of things we totally align on, and it's kind of fun when we don't, because I find certainly on my local council, I find that the longer you discuss something, often the decisions get better and better,
Yeah.
especially with a mixed group.
Yeah, I agree. And
It's something different than everyone else.
I'm just someone who likes, like, I guess, debating is always, you always assume there's some sort of adversarial, but I don't. There's always a healthy respect in debate, and it was me growing up in a household of like three siblings and myself, of kind of being like the dumbest kid, and so I would have my two older sisters, constantly challenge me and bring other perspectives where it's just like, oh, I feel smarter because I'm being challenged and being proven wrong. So that's why I enjoy this kind of political setting where it's just like, I may talk a point to death or I may seem really impassioned, but by no means am I so set in my ways that I won't hear the other side and like be like, oh, you know what? I may be wrong in this one. And I think overall, I think we need more of that in politics. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just find like it's okay to be wrong. Like, to expect your politicians to be perfect their entire political career is ridiculous, right? Points of view evolve. Like we will constantly grow, and I think that's a good thing. And
And I find that's what's great about municipal politics is you can change directions.
Right.
You can say, hey, you know what, we want 20 dog parks in town, and then you try one and realize, oh, you know what, there's only enough demand for one.
Right.
You can change your perspective as you go. Let's put in more four-way stops, and then you decide, you know what, they're not as safe as we thought. Let's do something different. It's great that we can change.
Totally.
I think councils should change.
Yes.
I don't think someone should be mayor for 50 years, because eventually you might get closed off from new ideas and new things.
And I think Durham region, I'm not going to say any specific names or places, but I don't disagree. I think we've had a lot of long-serving politicians, and that is a good or bad thing. Like, it's up to the electorate to decide. It's not for me to decide, but I don't disagree. I think we need new people and new positions to bring fresh ideas. And, I don't like change just for the sake of change. Like, there has to be a direction to it. But to your point, a new leader will steer the ship a different way and possibly bring new growth opportunities that we don't see, right? So,
yeah. And I think that can happen from a political standpoint or even a staff perspective, right?
Yep.
So you change your CAO, it gives you a whole bunch of ideas that you didn't have before.
Right. Now, what has been the most surprising thing being mayor amid COVID? What is the most shocking thing to you? I mean, aside from the entire situation, but
yeah, what continues to amaze me is how the community's coming together.
Yeah,
everybody's really trying to row in the same direction. And if we had talked in December, you and I, over coffee in the back room at the region, and you said, you know what, I'm pretty sure that for 2.5 months, people are going to be basically locked in their homes and they'll only go out to shop. What's going to happen? If we had that discussion, first of all, we'd never believe it.
Nope.
But also, I think we would have expected people would have gotten even more upset. We've seen the images from the US with people that are very concerned about the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
What has surprised me is how well we've all adapted, how well we've all taken it. And then even from an Uxbridge perspective, we pivoted to electronic meetings, pivoted to virtual offices, went from extremely low tech to very high tech in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was amazing how quick we changed. And it's actually more efficient. It's better in many ways. We're missing some of the interpersonal stuff.
Sure.
But I'm getting pretty used to, it feels like I'm speaking to Sterling right now. 6 months ago, this would have felt fake.
Yeah.
But you being two-dimensional on my screen is fine.
Because I have a three-dimensional personality, Dave. I have
There
a
we go.
three-dimensional personality.
And thanks for the line. I'll use that somewhere else.
Yeah. I was just
like to steal good ideas.
You set me up and I spike it down. Now,
one of my big goals, we haven't talked about it yet, but I want Uxbridge, we're obviously the trail capital of Canada. We also want to be the pizza capital of Canada very soon. So
How dare you? How dare you? Okay, this is going out to the public, and the people will know, sir. The people will know. Now, we've been talking about politics a bit. Tell me about Dave. So I know you like the outdoors. Do you have a favorite movie? What's your favorite? I was just looking at the Spotify list of the top one-hit wonders on Spotify, and it's not what you would think. What is your favorite one-hit wonder?
You know what? It's funny. I was just listening to it in the car like 10 minutes ago while I was driving back home. There's two.
Okay.
One from the 80s, which was 8675309.
Jenny, yeah.
Jenny, there we go. So that was one I loved back then, and I still belt it out. I've introduced it to my kid, and she's into it too.
Right.
And one of my first jobs, I was driving a delivery truck around the GTA a bit, and it was the summer of Pepper by the Butthole Surfers.
Yes.
Very catchy.
Yes. That was
And
mid 90s, mid to late 90s, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was another one that I just figured out how to use the Hey Siri feature on my phone when I'm driving.
Right.
And I can now just pick out one-hit wonders that you could never typically find
On the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I find I don't listen to the radio at all anymore. I'm either listening to podcasts or just like a very specific Spotify playlist because I don't. I mean, I've hit an age I feel where like our parents at that age, and it's an age I never thought I'd hit, where it's like my new music has like really steadily declined of me liking new music. So I've just gone back to the old stuff that I like, right?
Yeah, like that. For me, it's things like Foo Fighters and things like that, right? So,
Right.
No, I hear.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, so I was just saying. So those are two of the one-hit wonders that I think right now are a couple of my favorites. But
I think the number one on
could change that.
Spotify is it's the Spirit in the Sky. It's that one song you hear during every Vietnam montage. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I know that one. That's good.
So that's the number one. I would have thought it'd be like Mambo number 5 or the Maca, something stupid like that, but it's that one, so it's not bad. Oh, Dave, you've cut out. It's all right. We're gonna pause, and we're back after a slight hiccup. I actually think it's my internet, Dave, not yours.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I'm in a very. I think everyone decides to use the internet at the same time I do. So
Okay.
here we are. But sorry, we were talking about Spirit in the Sky, and then you were midpoint.
Oh, no, I think you were midpoint. Anyway, let's
Okay.
go on to the next one then.
And then favorite movie?
Wow, favorite movie. I should have been prepared for this.
Yeah, I know. I just spring them on people, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm very much a movie guy. Like, yeah, so it's like you'll find like I'm very pop culture based. I think that's just being a product of our. I don't think we're too. I'm 38, turning 39, so we're not too different in age.
So I'm just
sort
of one high school generation of
you. So I think that the MTV and much music, everything heavily was pop culture influence for me. So I'm always I'm always very curious about what people's favorite movies are.
So I'm trying to think of what
or top 3.
Let's go back to that one.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I'm a movie guy, but I'm not a Star Wars guy.
Okay, this call is over. Goodbye, everyone. No.
My wife is saying 16 Candles.
Is your favorite? That's not even my favorite. John Hughes.
I love John Hughes movies. I don't know if I would have called them my favorites, but all the John Hughes, like Breakfast Club, all that stuff I liked.
Some Kind of Wonderful is actually my favorite John Hughes movie.
No, that's a great one too.
That is.
Wait, no, John Hughes. It was Steven Spielberg did Goonies. I introduced my kid to that recently.
I don't think Spielberg did Goonies, did he?
I think he did.
I don't think he directed Goonies. Hold on, I have to look this up because I thought he was a producer. No, Richard Donner, the guy who did Superman, did Goonies.
But wasn't Spielberg was involved?
Amblin Entertainment, which was his production company, I think was involved.
Oh, is that why?
But it was not actually. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Goonies is phenomenal. And my favorite character, of course, is Short. Well, I don't think his name is Short Round. The kid who played Short Round, Indiana Jones, and Data.
Yeah.
Yes. And yes, it probably was a very dated, character of like the Asian stereotype.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I like the fact that, he was included in the gang and he wasn't, and I like that he was kind of techie, right? So I like that kid.
And his father was too, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah. They both had the inventions. I miss that genre of movie, though. That adventure genre, everyone had like a role and like they just played out that role.
Yeah, and Indiana Jones, and I don't know about you, but especially during the beginning of COVID, like when we had no idea what the next 15 minutes would bring.
Yeah.
I'd finish days fairly tired because again, you're pivoting all the time. But the only thing I could watch to kind of decompress was like dumb 80s movies and just like brainless TV. For me, it's not the time for things like Breaking Bad and those really the edgy, suspenseful genres. For me, it was like just dumb entertainment, Dumb and Dumber, things like that, just to take my mind off the real world.
I have a very compulsive personality, so it's like once I start a season, I have to finish it. So it's like I was watching a lot of really like deep. I was watching Better Call Saul, Succession,
Oh, okay.
Billy. It was really like intense. And thankfully, a
Yeah.
lot of that has stopped now. So now we're actually watching the Police Academy series. And I am shocked that it got 6 movies. Like sequels back then were just like we complain about sequels now, but like there's like 6 Police Academies, which is shocking to me.
Oh, I know. And like all the Rockies. Now in the
Oh,
Rockies,
Rocky's amazing. Rocky ended the Cold War.
what's that?
Rocky 4 ended the Cold War, right? So that's how I see it.
Okay, I must have been that. I didn't know that for sure, but obviously music.
It's in the history books.
So yeah, so certainly growing up in the 80s, especially I grew up about 10 miles north of where we live now, where we are in town, in a really small town. We had 1.5 convenience stores.
Right.
Uh,
What is a half convenience store?
well, it was one that was open sometimes and not open other times.
Okay.
Tried a restaurant, and but we had 2 channels. We had channel 3, and most of the time we had channel 9.
Right.
So we were pretty remote, and we spent our time mostly outside doing at 8 years old, we were riding our bikes 10 miles to go rent movies in Pefferlaw.
Oh my God.
The flexibility back then seemed, our freedoms were crazy.
Well, and there's no reason we can't do that now. I think in like the mid 90s to like present, there was this like media like sensationalizing kidnapping, and kidnappings are serious, but the media made us believe kidnappings were happening like every moment of every day, that every parent got scared. And I always use this example on council where I'm just like, I always took the bus to school or I walked, and that was just a fact, and it was myself and no one cared. And now like for me, the very fact that people are dropping off their kids and they have to is a foreign concept to me, because I'm just like, well, why don't you just let them walk? Like, it's like right there, right? But
Yeah.
It's a fear parents have, I suppose.
And I think we get too much information. 24-hour news, all those types of things have changed the way we think about everything, even in smaller communities like Uxbridge.
Do you guys have like a local Facebook page? Like we have one in Ajax. I'm wondering, is there an Uxbridge equivalent?
There's about 4 different ones. So there's like a buy and sell that sometimes veers into issues, and then there's parents groups. Then every individual school has a Facebook page. So, and one, I spend a fair bit of time with social media. It's how I get kind of the perspective of my community.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I was elected was that I was very active on social media. So I release videos quite often, and it is interesting to watch how social media works. And what I think I really like about it is that if you get an email that's crazy, totally offside, it's you trying to convince someone that they're wrong, and it's one-on-one, and it's really time consuming. With social media, someone comes out with an idea that's not going to work. You can put your perspective, and then 10 other people will back you up.
Right.
So I find it helps that piece, and then also I can release a video, and 2,000 people might see it in a few days.
Right.
Which means that there's no other way to have that kind of reach.
Yep.
As you're pivoting from one way to the other. Times during COVID with a weekly newspaper is almost impossible to
communicate. No, it's true. I think my only problem with social media is that it's like if 5 people have an issue, it's very easy to conflate that with my entire municipality has that issue, when it's really just the 5 loud people. But now we're possibly changing policy, changing structure to cater 5 loud people. So it's just like I intake Facebook, but I try not to administrate too much on Facebook. I try to leave that to my official account, because it's very different someone speaking to me and being like, I have a legitimate problem, versus being like, hey, let me see where this goes, right? And it could be a different, municipalities. Like I also use social media to a degree, but yeah, I'm also very wary that I don't want it to govern through social media, because I think that's a very dangerous precedent it sets.
Okay. It's working really well in the US right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this guy's got mad followers, and he'll tell us every single day.
Yeah. So, and I agree with you in some ways on that. The other piece of that, though, is that we end up with, even without social media, you might get 15 letters on your council agendas about one certain issue
Right.
that is very localized and only a very small fraction of your population is concerned about, at least on social media, you'll get multiple opinions if it's a
From all
wide.
over. Yeah.
So that's that. Anyway, it's one way that it's been, especially during COVID, it's one way you can communicate and actually really hear from your residents without endangering them or yourself by being out in the public too much.
Well, my only criticism of your social media is we don't see your beautiful family nearly enough. So let's get more pictures of the family, Dave.
More pictures of the family, show more pictures of the family, less of me.
Yeah.
Ongoing trend. I hear that a lot.
This whole meeting was just to get that point across. I just wanted to make sure we hit that head on the no. But that's it. Our time is pretty much up.
Okay.
Is there any business or nonprofit you want to plug?
So actually, we're doing something right now. This is for our food bank, and I was challenged by one of our local businesses who shaved his head raising.
Oh my God!
So he's a local pharmacist, and his name's Samir, and he shaved his head for our food bank. So the community raised $9,000. He shaved his head. 13,000. His female associate is shaving her head, and I thought I'd jump in. So I need a haircut desperately. So at 20, my hair's coming off.
Have we cleared this with the wife, Dave?
She encouraged it until this morning. This morning she came out and said, "Well, your hair's looking really good, long."
Oh yeah, now this is where the hints get dropped.
I've already committed, so I'm in. So.
I have a very oddly shaped head, and so I don't think I could do a shaved head. But I mean, all the power to you. Where can people donate money then?
So I'll give you a link, but if you just go to the Uxbridge Loaves and Fishes Food Bank, it'll click you through to a link on Canada House.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And do you know where you guys are right now?
I'm pretty sure my hair's coming off.
That sounds amazing. We'll definitely throw a few bucks in. We'll put that link at the bottom. And what's the cutoff for time? What's the cutoff?
Oh, so we always want people to donate,
of course,
but the deadline is June 1st.
Okay, we have a week, and we'll blast this. I'm kind of excited. I'm giddy with excitement right now.
Perfect. I'd like to see some money coming from outside of town.
Yeah, you'll see some Ajax money for sure. And where can people find you online?
All right, so I don't do much on Twitter, but it's at David Barton's with an S at the end of Barton.
Because there's two of you.
Yeah, I think David Barton was gone.
Right.
Oh, it was David Barton's gym, I think, had it.
Okay.
It's a New York City chain.
Yeah.
And then on Instagram, it's Dave_Barton_Mayor_of_Uxbridge. Sorry.
Very easy to remember. Very.
David Barton, you'll find me.
Right. Okay. Go on.
And then on Facebook, it's at Dave Barton Uxbridge.
Barton Uxbridge. Sounds good. Dave, this was an absolute pleasure. And again, I always say this, I don't really get a chance to kind of talk just personal stuff in regional council. It's kind of straight to business or political talk. So it's very nice to kind of put, a whole life behind the face of Diamond Dave Barton. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll definitely bring you back and talk more about we just want to see you with a shaved head, to be honest. So we'll follow up with that for sure.
I might get a wig, so we'll see how that goes.
What kind of wig? You gonna go long hair? You gonna go ponytail? What are you gonna go?
And a few different ones just to mix it up. So I think long blonde hair would look really good on me.
I think I'm picturing it now, and I don't disagree. You can find me at Your Voice for Ajax. I'll put all the links for the food bank in the bottom of this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Dave Barton, thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of Durham Unplugged, my name is Sterling Lee, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.